Hello from Shellac Finishes. In this video, I'll show you how to brush and pad with Royal-Lac post-catalyzed. I've chosen a slab of poplar measuring 48 inches by 15 inches. I prepared it by hand planing and sanding with 220 and 320 grit. Next, I applied 5 coats of Seal-Lac. I know a lot of you have been talked into buying expensive brushes for finishing, and yes, I've had my share too. But I've come to realize that it is the technique that is more important than the tool. I found these set of brushes at Michael's, which is a nationwide craft store. These are golden Taklon brushes. I'll be using these in the video. A frequent question I get is, how do I brush an even coat over a large area? Obviously, starting at one end with a fully loaded brush does not work well, since most of the finish is exhausted by the time the brush reaches the other end. Moreover, with a fully loaded brush, some flooding is bound to occur at the start of the stroke. Hence my choice for a 4 feet long slab. I'll show you how to lay down an even coat with a brush. First, let's mix the catalyst to prepare the finish. Since pot life is 8 to 9 hours after addition of catalyst, I mix only what I need. If I run short, I can always mix more. I think I need about 100 milliliters of finish for doing 4 coats with roughly 2 hours of rest in between coats. I have approximately 100 milliliters of Royal-Lac post-catalyzed finish and about 14 milliliters of RL Cure catalyst. Since the label calls out for 7 parts of Royal-Lac post-catalyzed finish to 1 part of RL Cure catalyst, I take 100 milliliters divided by 7 to get about 14 milliliters of catalyst. You can use ounces, grams, or any other type of measurement for the 2 parts. What is important is that the ratio be 7 parts of Royal-Lac post-catalyzed to 1 part of RL Cure catalyst. Next, I mix the two and give it a stir. The finish is now ready for application. I'll be using the 3-inch brush for this project. First, I prime the brush. This helps in letting the finish flow evenly and easy cleanup. Next, I load the brush with the finish and tap it a few times to offload extra finish. Too much finish will create flooding at the start of the stroke. I start somewhere at the center and very gently lay the brush down and pull it slowly and evenly towards the end. Next, I reload the brush again. For the second stroke, I start about 12 inches away from the previous starting point. I bring the brush down gently and slowly move it in the opposite direction. I am done with the first pass. For the second pass, I reload and again start somewhere at the center with a 1/4 inch overlap. I move the brush slowly towards the end. I reload and again start at about 12 inches away from the starting point of the first stroke. I bring the brush down gently and slowly move it in the opposite direction. I am done with the second pass. I'll keep repeating this procedure till the whole surface is completed. This is the first coat. I'll take as much finish out of the brush as possible. Next, I wash it with denatured alcohol and keep it immersed since I'll come back for a second coat in about 2 hours. The second coat is applied in exactly the same manner as the first coat. With 2 coats applied, I notice that there is a bit of accumulation of finish at the middle area of the slab since this has been the starting point of the strokes for the 2 coats. Therefore, I am going to give this area a light sand with 320 grit sandpaper. I'll remove only a bit so as to even out the thickness when compared to the 2 ends. This also removes some brush streaks that are more prominent in this area. I am now on my third coat. If you recall, in the first and second coats, I had started the first half of the stroke at the center and moved towards the end, and then again started 12 inches away from the starting point for the second half of the stroke. Now in the third and the fourth coats, I am going to start at the ends and stop at the center. Again, start at the other end and stop at the center with an overlap. I am going to start at this end. First, I put the brush down gently about 5 inches away from the end and gently push it forward to the end. Then I pull the brush away and lay down an even coat and stop at about the middle. I reload the brush and now I start at the other end. I put the brush down gently, about 5 inches away from the end, and gently push it forward to the end. Then I pull the brush away, laying down an even coat as I reach the end point of the first stroke. I lift the brush gently after a slight overlap. Let me show it again. I gently put the brush down about 5 inches away, push towards the edge, and then pull it towards the center. As I reach the center, I gently lift the brush away. Next, I start at the other end and go through the same routine of pushing and pulling the brush. As I approach the end of the last stroke, I gently lift the brush after a slight overlap. This completes the third coat. I'll do the fourth in exactly the same way and let it dry for 24 hours. It's been about 24 hours since the fourth coat was applied. To finish the process, I'll give it a light sand with 400 grit and apply 2 coats. For these 2 coats, I prepare a small quantity of Royal-Lac post-catalyzed with the correct amount of catalyst. Next, I dilute it 50% with denatured alcohol. This allows me to put on very thin and even coats. I'll apply the first coat starting from the center and moving towards the end. For the second coat, I'll start at the end and move towards the center. The process is exactly the same as shown previously. Now that I'm done with the 2 coats, I'll let the finish cure for about 5 days and get back to you for a final look. After application of the last coat of Royal-Lac post-catalyzed, I waited for 6 days for the finish to cure. This is what it looks like now. The finish is smooth and even. I do see faint brush marks when I look closely, but these will disappear as the finish dries more. All finishes shrink as they dry due to loss of solvent. Over time, all streaks will disappear due to this process. With brushing completed, I'll move on to the second part of the video where I'll show you how to apply Royal-Lac post-catalyzed with a pad. I'll use the same slab of poplar after giving it a light sanding with 400 grit sandpaper. I'll see you then.